His key phrase that I will never forget, and I wish I'd have come up with it myself, is ask and you get, don't and you won't.
Ask and you get, don't and you won't. I think we've all heard that first part, right?
Well, sure.
But the second half, nobody ever hears that. Oh, that's interesting.
So everything is built on that. It's the ability you have to ask as many times as you can. He used to say that, and the phrase that I used is, if you can fill someone's door frame more often than someone else, you will earn the business. And what he meant was to show up and show your face and actually do eye-to-eye contact with yourself. Now, today's world, I'm not sure how realistic that is. If you're working in a local marketplace, that's a pretty good idea. But he was a huge believer in face-to-face, getting to know someone. And there are a lot of lessons that can be learned from it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My name is Joao Camargo, and my guest here today is Bill Guertin, who is the Chief Learning Officer at ISBI 360. Bill, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you being a guest here on the show. Welcome.
Joe, appreciate you having me and looking forward to the conversation.
I am as well. Why don't we start this off exactly the same way that I start every single one of these talks. So anyone that's listening in, you're bored of me hearing me say this already. But just give everyone a little bit of background on who you are, the company, who you guys help, and any other context you'd like to share.
Well, my background within the company's context is really kind of varied. I started in radio at 16. I was the youngest licensed radio broadcaster in the state of Illinois at 16.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what I wanted to really do with my life. I was going to be the next top 40 DJ in Chicago. And so at 21, I figured out where the money was, and it was not on the air. It was in the sales department.
Yeah.
And so I began doing work within the sales department at that radio station, and then built a very good career selling airtime and campaigns and ideas for my clients that wanted radio advertising or wanted to build their businesses that way. So I worked for several stations around the collar counties of Chicago until I saw the iPod. And in 2001, I panicked a little bit. I said, how is it that people will enjoy listening to local radio if they can get 1,000 songs in their pocket? And I said, I need to find something else I can be more relevant in. Well, I was wrong, of course, because radio is still just fine. But I began looking around and seeing what it is that might, trip my trigger now. And so I did a lot of training in my radio days and training salespeople in how to be able to approach people and come up with ideas and be creative. And so I thought, trainer, that would be a really good thing. I'd like to be able to do that. And then pro sports, I always wanted to kind of be a part of the sports industry. I wonder if there needs to be somebody there. So be that as it may, I was actually doing a customer service training session as I was trying to feel my way around this business in the south suburbs. And the guy who ran the ticket sales department for the White Sox was in attendance. Excuse me. And he comes up afterwards and he says, Bill, he says, man, you've got some really good energy. We'd love to have a guy like you and come train our salespeople that sell tickets. He says, there are 5 or 6 guys around the country that do this. They go around and they deal with teams and they sell tickets or help them sell tickets with these philosophies and techniques. And for me, it was, wow, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was the case. And so literally I pivoted and worked toward that goal of becoming that. And so ironically, the first team that I worked with was actually not the White Sox, but it was the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, okay.
The sister team by the same owner, but I did eventually work for the White Sox for many years and have now had the good fortune to work with over 100 different teams in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. It was about 10 years ago that I met my business partner, Doug Quinn, who decided that, man, we got to bottle you somehow because you can only do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And so
how do we scale Bill?
How do we scale Bill? That's exactly right. And so we created ISBI as a way in which to do that, to be able to do virtual training via 10-minute micro-learning videos in a systematic short form, because nobody wants to listen to anything that's anything over 30 minutes anymore. I mean, this is the TikTok generation. And so it's all quick. And so if we can put small lessons in each of these modules in all of the different disciplines that are needed in ticket sales, like approaching someone from a cold call perspective, or group sales, or premium sales, or season ticket sales, or leadership even within the ticket sales realm, that we could do pretty well. And so that's what we did. when COVID came, we just about went belly up. But we decided that rather than not pivot and just kind of tank, we decided that we would become a company that would do recruiting for teams.
Okay.
And so we became a recruitment network as well. We trained people who had never sold before
Mm-hmm.
and then trained them to sell tickets for other teams from the comfort of their own homes.
Interesting.
And so those are our two business models. And from that came the recruitment side. So we actually recruit some of those part-time people that are working from home into teams. And so we have the ISBI 360 virtual sales. So I get this right. I'm sorry. Sales, recruitment, and a training network.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing all that. I always love to hear like the trajectory and the story of how the entrepreneur got to where they are, and then what led to the moment that they are living through right now. And it's so interesting for me to hear that sometimes for things that are so obvious that some of us actually go through, I'll call it a day-to-day experience, like going to a game, all these things. There's so many layers to it that people don't actually understand that are there and that exist. So thank you for sharing that first and foremost. And then number two, I wanted to just dive a little bit deeper in there. What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes and some of the biggest things that a lot of these organizations, because at the end of the day, the teams are organizations, right, that they make that doesn't really allow them to sometimes maybe achieve the goals of sales that they want, the revenue numbers, et cetera, all those things that you guys are able to supplement and help?
Well, many teams are challenged in sports, and it's mainly because of the ownerships and those who run teams. Typically, and I don't want to generalize because there are many teams that do a wonderful job of training, but many of them don't emphasize it. They think it as an expense and that they can't quantify for whatever reason. Gosh, I can't think of anything you can quantify more than sales training.
Okay.
You look at sales beforehand and look at sales after. It's pretty easy to compare.
Yeah.
But there is still a stigma of spending the money to do that. I've hired a sales manager, they say. I can have them do the training because I'm already paying their salary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not every sales manager is a really good sales trainer. They are two separate and distinct skills.
Yes.
And so not only are there training things that need to happen, there are materials that each rep needs to have in order for them to build a firm foundation.
Mm-hmm.
We've created a very proprietary method that is not any simpler than this. It's a literally one ring binder with all sorts of phraseology and things that we bring along to each one of the teams.
Okay.
Answers to objections that they hear all the time. It's not in the budget. And then there's other closing tactics that we do. And so this is essentially, this is the workbook. They have little teeny tiny work desks. And so we can't use 8.5 by 11. So that's why we use this little format. But those are the kinds of things that we bring that are not only proprietary to us, but are unique in that they really bring out the best in each one of the reps that we serve. And not only will we do that, but in our virtual training network, we will put some materials like this together along with a 1 day a week live call, making sure that everyone's done a really good job with the videos. And if they have any questions and dialogue concerning that, we have several people on the line at one time to be able to work with a coach who is an industry working professional, someone in sports, say a VP of ticket sales for the Detroit Tigers, for example. And you may be working for a hockey team or a soccer club, and you happen to have a coach that works for baseball. So it's an opportunity to network with people you wouldn't normally do it at all. So it's really become a unique way in which to branch out and not only to learn, but to gather from others in a way that people learn best. And that's through stories and through examples.
Yeah. And that's so interesting you mentioned that as well. And actually, I want to highlight one of the points that you made there, that just because someone is a great sales manager, they're not a great sales leader. And I want to just shift a little bit, even another step before that, in a mistake that I've seen and I still see so many companies do, which is they have this great sales rep, this great sales expert. They're top of the leaderboard all the time. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Oh, he's doing the best. What I'm going to do, I'm going to promote them to sales manager. And just because they are the best sales rep and the best at selling doesn't mean that they are going to be the best manager. And then oftentimes now they lost their best sales guy or gal, and then now they have a terrible manager. So like it's a loss for both situations because one doesn't certainly translate into the other. And it's so interesting because I would love to ask you if you see that as a common pattern that happens all over the place for everyone that you guys work with as well.
Constantly.
Hmm.
It's not anything that is unique to any industry or
Yeah.
any profession. It's and mainly I find that it's because people who are in the position to promote have no one else to choose.
Hmm.
They have to put someone in that position for whatever reason. And so they'll choose someone who they believe is more ready for that. And they shoot themselves in the foot by,
Yeah.
deciding that their best person needs to go away. And often what ends up happening, that person becomes very frustrated, very jaded about the industry because
Mm,
it's not
mm,
what they signed up
mhm,
for. They
mhm,
really love
mhm,
selling. They don't love managing because it's a different skill set. You have to
mhm.
deal with people and managing people and leading them in ways that they would prefer not to. They'd rather go
Yeah.
out and kill. There's a hunter killers in sales,
Yeah.
and there are others who are farmers who gradually like to tend the soil and work with people and grow them and do whatever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And you just can't put the wrong people in the wrong field. And
Mhm.
so that's yes, we see it all the time. Unfortunately, what we see is that they promote because there's more money attached.
Mm.
And so that really good rep will say, "Ooh, that's pretty good. I can just go ahead and do that and not have to work as hard."
Mhm.
And so you actually diminish someone's work ethic
Mm.
by putting them in a position of management because they don't know how to manage.
Yeah.
Very few people are trained in management. And fortunately, we've put together at ISBI an amazing leadership program for people who are just about to be transferred into leadership that is really we've solved a lot of those problems with this specific program, but
Mhm.
not every team has the wherewithal or the green light to spend the money.
Yeah, but as you said, the training is necessary because it is a completely different skill set. It's not just like, hey, do this thing there, so you'll be able to do it on another place. Oh, no, 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 no. There's many layers to peel back and actually dive deeper into that skill development, which is pretty awesome. I'd love to shift the conversation here, Bill, a little bit more towards ISBI itself. I think one of the important topics that I love to highlight and emphasize in this podcast is that business can be great and it can have this amazing ups, but it's not always just sunshines and rainbows. There's many challenges, many valleys of despair that as entrepreneurs we have to go through. So I would love to hear from you. What are some of the challenges that you guys also face when it comes to maintaining the growth of the company, making sure that you hit the targets, all those things? In the pursuit of course, achieving more impact and helping more organizations, but also growing the business as a result.
Well, we've been challenged by growing the business. We've been lean and mean ever since we started. And I think we got up to 10 or 11 employees at one time, and now we're about half that, gearing up for the next run of what we hope to be a growth spurt. The market conditions sometimes dictate that.
Mm-hmm.
As COVID came out and we all got back to work, there have been fewer and fewer sales reps actually being hired. Uh, for those of you familiar with AI and bots and the way in which we now sell, there are some companies that have created electronic or non-human callers
Mm-hmm.
that are setting appointments for real live people. And so maybe you'll have 12 reps 5 years ago on a staff, but you might decide that, man, maybe I can get by with 7 and have 2 of these robots and I can save money and I can have my 7 reps calling people that are already pre-qualified. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have fewer people that are chasing the cold calls and what we call the traditional ways in which to do that. So it is a different kind of mindset these days as to what that sales department looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's oh shoot, Joe, I forgot your question right away. But that's where I was going with that. I wanted to be
No, but
sure to
yeah,
get.
just tying into the challenges that in growing the company.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's for us. There are fewer people to train now. In many ways, that's an easier sell because now we only have 7 people to bring through the program versus 12, and so it's a less expensive route for them.
Mm.
But they've already put some money into these robots and these programmed people to be able to set leads and appointments for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so they have to weigh that. And I don't envy those people in charge now at teams that are faced with having decisions that need to be made right now on how to staff it properly. Because every time you see someone getting more and more salary, you see somebody signing for more and more, and the NFL is famous for this, right? With these max contracts and these just giant contracts. Well, who panics most on that is the sales team, because they think, oh my gosh, now I have to go sell that much. And most often, you see the glitz and glamour of what it is to be in sports on the outside, but it can be pretty sparse on the inside because there's not much money left.
Do you think that, in a way, that because there's always going to be pros and cons at every single layer of adaptation and how business develops and new technology now with AI being the biggest buzzword and all these things, do you think that biggest challenge, part of that is from the hesitancy of not leveraging AI in the right way for a lot of these organizations? Like, they have that fear that, hey, if we keep doing things the old way, even though it might be still the more efficient way, sometimes it isn't, sometimes it is. It's that conundrum, that equilibrium that they're trying to figure out. Is it better for us to go this way? Is it better for us to go this way? Do you think it's more of like that balance that they have to make in their head of which direction to go towards?
Of course. Yeah, they're doing that every day. And it doesn't matter if it's AI or something else. As we got into, and I'll go back, text technology.
Okay.
Not long ago, being able to text someone out of the blue and, have them, sold with a text message was a pretty radical idea.
Sure.
And there were companies that were putting together big text packages where you could send out thousands of texts at one time and still do a very good job of that. But there were people that were hesitant to get on board at that time. I mean, they didn't know that. But, when you look at the facts and you look at how much more often people open texts, it became almost a no-brainer for most teams to jump aboard that. I give AI another year until it's fully ensconced in sports. Everyone has been putting their toe in the water. And it's been things like writing better emails and making sure that other things, we haven't really got into the AI agent part where you have multiple apps that are working together to solve a specific problem.
Yes.
Most of the teams are just using one AI. They'll use, somebody like, ChatGPT, or they'll use, something else that does one specific task and they get a thing back. The day will come when they will, wise up and, get involved in agents. And I don't want to go over your heads of the audience, but the agents are when we strap multiple apps together within AI to have a certain outcome at the end, which is much more powerful than just a single app.
Yeah. And I think there's so many companies or so many people, I think in general, that see AI as just ChatGPT for now. Like, that's the extent of in which they use. But as you said, there's so many extra layers that go so much deeper and are so effective at what they do that I actually agree with you. It's just a matter of time. So I would actually love to ask you a question that I've been asking almost everyone on the podcast as well, Bill, which is this. Let's say then you had a magic wand and you could just wave this amazing, there you go, just like me, amazing wand that could solve just one challenge, one obstacle, something in the business that would allow you to hit all the growth goals you have, all the revenue targets, whatever that might be. I think as leaders, sometimes we are faced with so many different priorities to solve, so many fires, so many things to take care of. But with this magic wand, you get just one challenge in the business that will allow you to hit all your growth goals that you're looking to achieve. What's the one thing you'd like to solve internally?
Ownership's perception of the value of training their staffs. There is ownership of teams. Sometimes it's a single team, sometimes it's multiple teams that have the mindset of, I want to get this much money out of my team in the next 12 months. I want to spend this much money doing it. I want to have this much money coming in. And then I want to have this much at the end because this is what I want for myself. There is not a lot of long-term thinking with regard to ROI and the way training works. I think some teams, and it is all levels of leadership, people feel abandoned, or they feel miffed when someone leaves the organization sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They put all this time and effort into training and then they take off for somewhere else. But if you don't train them, what sort of message are you sending to those people? Are you investing in their education and their in their growth?
Mm-hmm.
And it shows time and time again that those who invest in training, especially with young folks that are coming into the markets in their young, early and mid 20s, that they crave this kind of education. They want it and they will apply it even more so than some of the veterans that are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
That if you don't supply that, you become left in the dust from others, and you will have somebody else hire them away because you've got a better training program.
Interesting. It almost sounds like it's because you said the words educating the team members and the leaders, but it almost sounds like educating the owners on the value and the ROI that they can get from the education themselves, because then in that way they become aware of the problem, then they are educated on the solution to solve the problem, and then the return that they will get, which is of course the outcome that they're looking for. Does that sound about right?
It does. You got my magic wand right.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. And I have one final question here for you, Bill, which is actually not a question from me. It's a question from our last guest to you, and they had no idea who you are. Here you go. Are you ready for the question?
Sure.
This is an interesting one. Who was it, personally or professionally, the person that most influenced you and how you lead your business today?
Wow. There have been dozens, and I'm going to be remiss in missing a lot of people that I know and have come to know over the years. Certainly my business partner today has taught me a lot. My general manager in radio taught me a ton, Gary Wright.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, overall, my mentor, whose name is Dave Gifford, who just passed here a year and a half ago, was the single most influential figure in the way that I lead an organization today. He is no BS, no nonsense. If you're not hitting your numbers, it's a empirical thing. It's not, you shouldn't talk about, how you're feeling today or whatever. There's a reason why you're not hitting them, and we need to find that. And so I'd have to say Giff was the guy who I looked up to more than anyone else as someone who is my torchbearer for that. And I am eternally grateful for him. I have a whole satchel of notes that I took back in the day that I still refer to this day.
That's so cool. What are some of the maybe one or two pieces of advice or lessons that you've learned from him that you really hold tightly together to you?
His key phrase that I will never forget, and I wish I'd have come up with it myself, is ask and you get, don't and you won't.
Ask and you get, don't and you won't. I think we've all heard that first part, right?
Well, sure.
But the second half, nobody ever hears that. Oh, that's interesting.
So everything is built on that. It's the ability you have to ask as many times as you can. He used to say that, and the phrase that I used is, if you can fill someone's door frame more often than someone else, you will earn the business. And what he meant was to show up and show your face and actually do eye-to-eye contact with someone. Now, today's world, I'm not sure how realistic that is. If you're working in a local marketplace, that's a pretty good idea. But he was a huge believer in face-to-face, getting to know someone. And there are a lot of lessons that can be learned from that.
Amazing. Bill, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible. I appreciate you sharing all those insights. And that final, what a cherry on top there to finish with the quote, ask and you get, don't and you won't. I really, really love that. Where should people go, Bill, if they want to learn a little bit more about you and, of course, also a little bit more about the company?
You're welcome to reach out to me at bill@isbi360.com. And I respond to every email personally and individually. And you're welcome to reach out and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. Love to ask you this question.
Amazing. I will leave all of those links down here below if you want to check that out. And if you're still listening to this conversation, you want to hear more conversations like this, please hit the subscribe button and I will see you on the next episode. Bill, thanks again so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.